Hello, I'm Mayor Tom Henry. My favorite part about having the best job in Fort Wayne is that I'm always learning new ways to keep our city moving forward. Thanks to our dedicated, innovative employees, there's a lot going on in the city, especially behind the scenes. You want to learn more? Hi, I'm Mayor Tom Henry. I'm at the Water Pollution Control Lab here in Fort Wayne with Andy Riley. And Andy's going to talk to us a little bit about the utilization of chemistry as a part of the pollution control plant. Now, many of us know that water, drinking water we get, obviously has to go through some 50,000 tests a day in order to make it drinkable water. But a lot of people don't know that chemistry is also a vital part of our pollution control operations as well. So Andy's going to tell us a little bit about that. Andy, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Why do we use chemists in pollution control?
Well, the City of Fort Wayne's Water Pollution Control Plant, we take in a huge part of Allen County's sewer wastewater. So this includes anything from residential, which is your sinks, toilets, showers, industrial, anything from a large dairy to a metal plate process. We have restaurants, and we also use like runoff. We have runoff, so combined sewers that would come here also. So that would be like a heavy rain. Then you would have your snow melt, which would then come to the plant also. So all of that water comes here. So we need to test that because that has contamination in it. It has all these contaminants in it that we need to remove before we can put it into the river.
So we don't take the water and just put it into the river?
No, we don't do that.
We used to.
Yeah, a long time ago they probably did, yeah. No,
So why is it important that we take all this stuff out before we put the water ultimately into the river?
So we have a NPDES permit from IDEM, Indiana Department of Environmental Management, that we have to follow that tells us how much of each contaminant we can put into the river.
Okay.
So for certain levels are different for each contaminant. So for example, we have to remove ammonia, we have to remove phosphorus, and we test for those throughout the process. So we test on the influent, we test the effluent, and then we also test several times in the process to make sure we are removing what we need to remove. We also do TSS, and then we also do pH, and there's several others that we do, but those are the main ones that we really have to focus on.
So the water comes into this plant from all over the city.
Correct.
And so if it's just basic sewage water, then you have mechanisms in place, chemically speaking, to extract a lot of this stuff out of the water.
Correct. We use some chemical for the phosphorus. Mainly we use a ferric chloride, but we also use bugs that we'll talk about I think later that are a biological removal. So those will actually they will help remove the phosphorus, the ammonia, and the CBOD also.
Okay, so you got all this water that comes in, and you use all these different techniques to clean the water so that ultimately the majority of the water then goes back into the rivers clean, or relatively clean.
Correct.
What do you do with all the stuff left over?
So a lot of it drops out in what we call sludge. So we'll actually take the sludge off the tanks, off the bottom of the tanks, and we put that into what we have digesters, and we'll actually cook it, and then we get methane off of that. So we burn the methane, or we store the methane, and we can actually power a lot of our plant based off that methane that we produce.
So we have a program that people refer to as waste to energy. So what we're doing is taking human waste and other forms of waste and burning it, converting it to methane gas, and then we convert the methane gas to electricity.
Correct.
And it powers this plant as well as some other buildings.
Correct.
And we literally save, I would assume, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in energy consumption.
Yes.
Now, my next question is, those people who I talk to about that get very excited.
Right.
Because we're being environmentally aware and trying to do our share. Do you plan on expanding that?
Yeah, right now I think that we're at about a third of what we to be at net zero. And I know in the next, I can't remember, 5, 10 years, we want to be at net zero. So 100% production of our own electricity here through our methane, which it'd be huge.
That
huge
would be,
savings.
and that would be for all your city utility plants then, or just pollution control?
Just here, I think, right now.
Oh, you got a big campus here.
Right, we do,
on
yes.
Dwayne
And always
Avenue.
expanding.
Yeah, it's big.
Yes.
Okay, a few minutes ago you talked about bugs. Everybody wants to know about these bugs.
Right.
So could you tell our listeners and our watchers a little bit about that terminology?
Yeah. So what we refer to as bugs are the macroinvertebrates that we have, our macroorganisms that we have, that actually, like I said, treat the wastewater. So they remove the ammonia, they remove the phosphorus, they remove the CBOD. Those are something as simple as an amoeba, which is, the simplest form of an organism, up to water bears or tardigrades, and that's a complex organism. And then we have a bunch in between that are stalk ciliates, free-swimming ciliates, rotifers, nematodes, bristleworms. So all these
little bugs.
all these organisms that we have, the bugs, actually remove all the bad stuff, if you would, all the contamination, help remove the contamination from the wastewater. So as you can see here, I mean, this is this basically is a slide of basically 3 drops. So this is 3 drops of our aeration tank, and you can see here we have some stalk ciliates, and those are ones that we want to see a lot of. Those are very good at removing the contaminants from the wastewater. Up here we have an amoeba, which is a very slow-moving, simple organism. We don't want to see a lot of those, but we do want to see some of those. We also have a lot of free swimmers. So here's an example of what would be like our free swimmers. So these guys move all around the tank, and they use cilia, which little hairs that are all around their body, and that's how they move through the water. And they'll go out and forage to find these molecules of ammonia, phosphorus, and then they use those. So they'll consume those to reproduce and grow, so they can make more of these and bigger of these to keep replenishing the tanks, because the lifespan of these is not very long. But so they just make millions and millions of these. So you can see them. I mean, they're actually feeding on something right now. I'm not sure what they're eating here, but yeah, they're moving around and doing their job. They're cleaning the water that we need them to do.
Well, water pollution control has won a number of awards over the year. In fact, over the years. In fact, just recently won another award.
Right.
So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Well, we've talked about some of the neat parts of the operation, but you've been in this business for a while, and obviously water pollution control has its own share of jokes and comments. But as one of the professionals here, what's one of the strangest things you've ever seen?
I've been here 20 years this year, so that's pretty huge.
Yeah.
I did 2 years. I was an operator. I saw a lot as an operator, because you see everything that comes in the plant. So you see everything
sure.
comes up on the screens.
Sure.
I've seen anything from, I'm going to do a few because I can't.
Sure.
I mean, and they're not always strange. I mean, I've seen animals. You've seen rats come up.
Good.
I mean, which
Good.
we're getting rid of those, I guess. So
that's good.
I've seen big logs that I have no idea how got in the sewer that they come up on our bar screens. I've seen rebar, all sorts of metal that's come up. I mean, I don't know how it gets into the system. I have no clue. But the one that we see, the goldfish, we do see goldfish from Timmy that flushed his goldfish.
Right.
But I always see a lot of action figures. So
Really?
Heads, arms, legs.
They go in through the toilets or something?
The kids must flush them, and then they do make it here, and so they'll come up on our screens, and so they'll be pulled off, and so it's not strange, but it's different.
So does that become part of the sludge?
Yes. Well, we screen that off, and then we collect all that, and that'll go to the landfill.
Well, Andy, this has been a real joy to go through this. I haven't been here in a while, so this was really nice to have a refresher course. And I'm sure our viewers and our listeners, they got a tremendous education as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
It's probably grown a little bit since you've been here last.
Just a little bit.